ตามแนวคิดดาโคสและการบาดเจ็บในนักดนตรีและไอเดียการประดิษฐ์เครื่องดนตรีจากสิ่งรอบตัวนะครับรวมถึงการนำเสนอผลงานวิชาการของคณาจารย์และนิสิตนักศึกษานะครับโดยที่รายละเอียดต่างๆนะครับสามารถดูได้จาก QR code ด้านหลังบัตรหรือว่าบอร์ดแจ้งข้อมูลทางด้านหน้านะครับและสุดท้ายนี้นะครับขอเชิญชมการแสดงดนตรีในงานครุศาสตร์คอนเสิร์ตครั้งที่ 40 ที่หอประชุมจุฬาลงกรณ์มหาวิทยาลัยในวันพรุ่งนี้นะครับเวลา 1 ทุ่มตรงซึ่งเป็นวันสุดท้ายของการประชุมวิชาการนะครับในโอกาสนี้ผมและอาจารย์สยาขออนุญาตมอบเวทีนี้ให้กับผู้ช่วยศาสตราจารย์ดร.ดานิยาอุทัยสุขเพื่อดำเนินรายการต่อไปครับขอบพระคุณครับ
Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Good? Okay. Say hi to me, please. All right. Okay. Right now, we're coming to the second day of NCME 2023. Okay. Actually, this conference is a national conference basically in Thai language, but just for this special occasion and these 2 hours that we are going to have like the international perspectives and international feeling. So if you need any translation in Thai, please say something or raise your hand. Otherwise, I would like to just go with the international English language as well as Professor Bo Walung. And then if times provide, I might give some Thai description for some Thai audiences. Is that okay with all of you? Is it okay? Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay. Because this conference is for the education, and we are trying to have our undergrad students and graduate students come together to be ready to the international world. So it's going to be little by little, step by step. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Now we are going to the formal session. All right. Welcome to this keynote session. It's going to be an very exciting experience for all of you, and those who have just arrived, please feel free to have a seat. All right. First of all, I would like to give you some information about Professor Bo Walung, because we are so honored to have him here, even though he is very busy with all of the tasks as a ISME president. We are so honored that he personally accepted the invitation from Professor Narut Sutajit, the founder of NCME of Thailand. That's why we have an honor and have a good opportunities together here. Okay. Professor Bo Walung is a professor of the Department of Cultural and Creative Art, director of the Research Center for Transmission of Cantonese Opera at the Education University of Hong Kong. He is current president of ISME and the chair of the APSMER, which is the Asia Pacific Symposium of Music Education Research. And not only that, he served as an executive forum member of World Alliance for Art Education, or WAAE. He was invited to serve as visiting scholar by the School of Music, University of Washington, USA in 2018. Other than that, Professor Luong was a head of the Department of Cultural and Creative Art since 2015 to 2021, and Associate Dean. During his tenure, he has led many creative research projects focused mainly on the transmission of Cantonese opera in professional settings and schools, creatively in music teaching and learning, motivation in music composition, and partnership approaches and transformative learning in arts education. His pioneering research on incorporating Cantonese opera into the formal music curriculum in Hong Kong primary and secondary schools has won him a wide recognition, including the prestigious Musical Rights Award from the International Music Council, founded by UNESCO. Last but not least, Professor Bo Wah Luong is a prolific writer. He had many books which I have to take many minutes to finish all of those books, and hope you don't mind to read it from the proceeding that you can scan it from your name badges. Okay, I would rather not take any more minutes. But I would like for all of you to welcome and give a warm welcome by big applause to Professor Bo Wah Luong. So I will give a few minutes for technology preparation, but feel free to.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much, Dania, for your kind introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor to be here to share with you some of my research and thinking about transmission of traditional music in Hong Kong. First of all, before the topic, I would like to encourage you all to join our International Society for Music Education. In these 2 years, I'm the president, so I'm responsible to promote our society to all over the world. And I can ensure that you will receive many good things from ISME. I joined the ISME in 1996. Okay, it's quite a long time ago. And I can tell you I have got many international connections. I have many international professional friends. I can do some international collaborative projects. And I can receive assistance from this international communication. So we will be professionally developed if you participate in this society. And you can see the new logo is, you can see the 70th. Actually, this year is our 70th anniversary. ISME was founded in 1953 by 9 international music educators. One of them you must know. He was Kodai. Okay, so this is a very important, the biggest connection organization in the world focusing on music education. And we have our World Conference next year in Helsinki. So I wish you will come and present your research and to discuss and to see each other. So keep this international friendship. Okay. So, of course, there are also 5 regional conferences of ISME. In our Asia Pacific, we will have our APSMA in Korea this August. Okay, so the deadline for abstracts is 27th of February. So if you still have some time, okay, please try to submit an abstract. Okay, so the advertisement is finished.
Thank you.
So now today I will talk about my research on transmission of Cantonese opera and some thoughts to share with you. I'm not quite sure if this doesn't work. Then I have to... It totally does not work.
That's not working?
Why?
Okay.
I
Just
don't
hold
know.
on.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Okay, now this is my outline. I will first of all talk about the background. What is Cantonese opera in Hong Kong? and the developmental stages of Cantonese opera in terms of history. Okay, and I will share with you some research, some of my research on transmission of Cantonese opera. And finally, I will give you some concluding remarks, what I think, what are the challenges in the future. The first is the developmental stages of Cantonese opera in Hong Kong. Now, it was more than 100 years ago. But actually, it's a long story, and I don't have too much time to talk about the long history, but the most important period is from 1920s to 1960s. It was our golden age of Cantonese opera in Hong Kong. And at that time, the art form has become a mature situation, because the musical systems, the language, everything has been settled, has been fixed. Because actually Cantonese opera was, or in Guangdong province, including Hong Kong, Macau, originally we didn't have any Xi or any opera. But we just borrow other music systems from other provinces to establish our genre. So until 1920s, there were many famous artists. And this was the only public entertainment in Hong Kong, which is very important at that time. Everybody, if they want to have some entertainment, they have to go to Cantonese opera. And there's a very short video. The sound is not very good because it's very old. It's around 1950s. But you can see many reporters. Better not to play so long. Okay, the quality is not so good, okay, because of the sound and the old movie. Okay, but you can see there are many reporters just because it was a big issue, a big event, that a public performance with so many famous artists. So there were so many reporters reporting this. But nowadays, no reporters will go to a Cantonese opera performance. Now, our cultural tradition in Cantonese opera, you can see some photos. Now, the original context is a ritual performance. That means there are many festivals in China, and we are celebrating those festivals. The birthdays of many gods. Okay, so we have to celebrate those, and also Chinese New Year. So we play all these performances for the gods. And the people can also share, okay? So improvisatory without scripts, but outline of story only. At that time, there was no libretto, no scripts. They have some special way, we call it formalization, to just play with their fixed process so they don't need to rehearse, okay? They can play and improvise at that time. And the cultural tradition of Cantonese opera, apprenticeship was the main way to transmit or to nurture professional artists. Okay, that relationship between the master and the apprentice is something like a parent and child relation. So you can see when an apprentice wants to be a apprentice of a master, she has to bow down on the knee and give her a cup of tea, and the master will give her some lai si, so some money, lucky money, which is a kind of ritual or ceremony. And there must be some other important, experienced artist to witness the process, so that this student has become an apprentice of this particular master. Okay. And also superstition and taboo is also appeared in our Cantonese opera, which is a very interesting cultural phenomenon. For example, before every live performance, they have to do something like that to worship their god. They have a specific god for Cantonese opera. The name of the god called Hua Guang. Okay, before the performance, they have to worship Hua Guang so that they can have a psychological safety. Okay, because during the performance, that can be very dangerous. It can be hurt by some fighting or some acrobat fighting. No, but up until 1960s, the 1960s to 1990s, it was the period of deteriorating. That means at that time, new entertainment came to Hong Kong. Like Hong Kong people pursue westernization, modernization. So the new thing like movie, Western and Taiwan pop songs, and our Canto pop songs. Okay, I think most of our people here in Thailand has also seen the TVB entertainment thing, and you know Canto pop, right? So you can see those bands, and this is Sam Hui. Sam Hui is our first generation pop singer. He's now more than 5 years old, but he's going to have another concert next month. You know, it's very wonderful. Okay, and our Cantonese opera has been regarded as old-fashioned and outdated. And moreover, now, evolving context in 50s to 70s, importance of TV broadcasting. As I mentioned, TVB started in 1967, TVB, okay? And also Western movies, pop songs from the West, you know, these Beatles. Actually, Beatles visited Hong Kong in 1964. Wow, it was a big thing at that time, you know. And all the young people went to see pop song, Beatles. Nobody want to see the Cantonese opera. Okay, this is a big problem. Until 2000, our present period of revival. Now, we have returned to China in 1997. Promotion of Chinese culture in school education and general public is our very important agenda. And Cantonese opera is enlisted in the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage in 2009. This is a big issue for us because this is the thing that internationally recognized that Cantonese opera is really important and valuable. Establishment of government funding of Cantonese opera development, we have a big funding for develop Cantonese opera. And school formal music curriculum includes Cantonese opera in music has been founded. That means as a primary and secondary school music teachers, they have to teach Cantonese opera in schools. Now this is a big challenge for all the teachers, okay? Especially for the teacher educator like me, okay? First bachelor degree for training professional artists by the Hong Kong Academy for Performing Arts. I think you have heard about Hong Kong APA. This is our very special institute for training artists, performing artists. So they have a new school, this Chinese opera school. It's focusing on training professional artists. So this is the current situation, which is developing well. Now, evolution of Cantonese opera since 1930s. We can see that there are big changes since 1930s up to the current situation. The changes we need to know because not only in Hong Kong, I think in everywhere, in many Asian countries, we are sharing a very similar situation. We all have our traditional music, and most likely we would value our traditional music. And when we see those younger people, they don't like those traditional music. And we start to worry whether this kind of traditional music will disappear in the future. Now, this is our challenge and a threat, okay? So not only, just not because of music itself. Traditional music represents our traditional culture, our traditional cultural identity, okay? So this is important for us to found or to establish our soft power in terms of international relationship. So arts and culture are always a very good, I won't say it's a weapon, but it's a kind of instrument to enhance our international status in the world, okay? So actually in the Western countries, they all recognize this very early, okay? But in Asia, it seems that we still are striving for economy or even military power. These are called hard power, not soft power, okay? I really hope that education, culture, arts, all these can be our soft power to strive for our international status. Anyway, now, the evolution since 1930s, in terms of nature, it was from improvisation to rigorous script writing for performance. As I said before that we didn't have any scripts, okay? And they just improvised on the stage. They did not have any rehearsals. It's just very special for us, you know, as a musician, we always focus on our rehearsal. We rehearse many times so that our performance is good. But in traditional Cantonese opera, they need not do rehearsals. They have some kind of regulation, and they think that improvisation can generate some unexpected performance, which is surprising and attractive. Now, this might be true, okay? But of course, there can also be problems. So 50-50 is good and bad, okay? So, but up to now, we will never do this. We may just improvise based on the script. We will maybe add something, add more dialogues to make some funny jokes, etc. But it won't, the whole performance won't be performed by improvisation. Second, function, from ritual performance to artistic performances in theaters. Now, the original context is for the ritual performance. That means they will have a theater just built temporarily for those festivals. So after that, they will just break away. But now we focus on theaters, okay? So this is another thing, from a kind of very ritual, raw performance to a kind of fine arts performance, okay? We are having an artistic direction. Practice, from single gender troops to both gender troops. You can imagine in the old days, only men can perform on stage, okay? Only men, not women, okay? Up until 1930s, they had both genders troops. Now, it's also represented a kind of Chinese traditional culture that ladies should not be exposed to the public. Okay, only men can do it. Okay, but it's a kind of modernization or development. Okay, transmission from apprenticeship to formal and non-formal education. Now, this is another big change. In the old days, we just do apprenticeship. That means every great master, artist, they will recruit one or two or a few apprentices to transmit their personal artistry, okay? But nowadays, there won't be no more. There are many, many reasons leading to such a situation. I have done a big research on this, okay? Basically, it was because of the social and economic situation. In the old days, Hong Kong, there were many poor people, poor family. So the poor family will send their child to those masters for learning, and the child can stay with the master. They don't need to pay any tuition fee, okay? And all the lifespan expenses will be supported by the master, okay? So the child can learn something, and in the future, if fortunate enough, they can be a big star and earn a lot of money. So at that time, many poor family parents will send the child to be the apprentices. Of course, it's really a hard job, a hard life to learn, okay? But nowadays, we are getting more rich, not so poor. So very few parents will do that. So normally we will encourage our children to, study in schools and going to universities and get a good job, and doing such performance for profession is really kind of limited, okay? So we have to focus on formal and non-formal, sometimes informal learning. That means we normally have a school, academy, conservatory, like the Hong Kong APA. They have the first degree program for 4 years, but they have, of course, they have many questions or problems, okay? But they have to use their 4-year program to ensure the graduates are capable to perform in the future. So this is a big challenge for them. So this changed the whole ecosystem of education or training system. Okay, so everything will be systematic, unlike the apprenticeship. In the apprenticeship, very interesting actually. The apprentice had no lessons, actually no learning. Okay, the apprentice just follow the master to perform on the same stage, observe the master. Okay, sometimes he may ask a few questions, and then he practice and imitate everything. So learn by the learners, no teaching at all. Okay, but nowadays in the school, you can imagine they are teaching. The lecturer will come into the classroom to teach something, to nurture them to be artists in the future. Of course, there are many practical practices. So this is a big change also. Finally, the contents from traditional Chinese folklore to infusion of Western elements or modern elements. This is another big change. I can show you something quite interesting, I think. So because all these traditional Cantonese opera will be talking about those old stories in China. So all the costumes are in very traditional way, not the modern costume, okay? But in the 50s, they have made some changes. Now, first of all, let's see a short excerpt of Cantonese opera. It's a very famous piece. I don't have too much time, so let's play the next one. Oops. Now, this is a movie. The same story, same singing, but in Western modern costume. Okay. The speed is faster. That means it's not so slow. It's much faster. Okay, now it's very interesting, you see. We have to change our aesthetic understanding to perceive such modern performance. Now, it's a kind of normal evolution, I would say, because we are living in the modern time, okay? Anyway, now cultural sustainability is a challenge for us. As I said, we are not only teaching music or arts, we are actually try to sustain our culture through arts education and transmission. So audience building is a big issue. As I said before, there are not too many young people going to the theater. Okay, so how to persuade the younger generation enter the theater is a big issue for us. Second, transmission, how to encourage younger generation to learn and become professional artists. Okay, this is a big issue because we have to show that there will be future, there will be hope when they become professional artists. Third is about general education, how to engage children to learn the genre. Because we need the new artists and they have to start their training in a very early stage, like 8 years old or 9. So if they really enter the profession, they may have to give up their academic study. So this is a big problem. And also government policy, how to help preservation is another issue. Now Hong Kong government is now doing many good things, spend a lot of money to accommodate this training, okay? And also encourage those young artists to perform with money. Anyway, based on all this situation and the background, I've done some research on this and try to report to you. The first thing is research in applying technology in education. Now, first of all, I'm not a real technician. I do not really understand too much about technology. I'm an old guy, you know, in the old generation. So technology to me is, I need to spend much time to learn, to understand, okay? But I know that this is a trend. This is necessary in our future so that we will keep a same pace with the younger generation. So I have to learn until or even after retirement, I still need to learn about technology. Okay, I have developed 2 devices, I would say. The first one is a kinetic chain assessment and learning computerized system for Cantonese opera movement. Okay, it's a long name. Okay, this is aimed to provide students with immediate assessment for learning. Now, all the research should come from reality. So what are the real problem in the reality? So there is a big problem in the learning of professional artists. That means nowadays we don't have any apprentice. The students have to take a class every weekend. Then after that, they will go back home to practice, right? So in the Cantonese opera, they have to practice their movement. Okay, there are many movements, all are fixed and standardized. Okay, so I observed that many students, after their practice, and come back to the teacher, and the teacher will observe that, well, they have practiced in the wrong way. Their movement is wrong. Okay, something may be too high, too low, or something, you know. So this is a problem because the teacher told me that it is very difficult to change their habit if they have already made it as a habit. Okay, now this is a big problem. How to change it? So we may use a technology to help with. Now I think you know this Kinect is quite common now. You play all the games, okay, the Xbox or something. So this is the same thing by Microsoft, okay? So we first invite an expert who is an expert in Cantonese opera to perform 30 basic movements to record with this Kinect and make it as a kind of that, okay? And this is the model. And actually, the machine has measured all the angles of the whole body, including the hand, arms, leg, foot, neck, body. There are around 19 points. So the machine is recording all these movement with the angle changes, okay? And after recording this, the students will practice with this image. So we have to validate the kinetic chain assessment and learning computerized system for Cantonese movement. Sorry, next one. Doesn't work. Okay. Now you can see if a student, he is facing at the screen and imitating the master's movement. Now what she sees is the master's movement, and she's doing the same thing, and the computer is measuring the student's movement. Okay, after that, there will be all the marking or evaluation assessment coming out immediately so that the student will learn which part is too high or too low. Now this is capable. It's not a really high technology nowadays. Okay, when I developed this several years ago, okay, it was regarded as, wow, high technology, AI. Okay, but this is going, actually one of my doctoral students are helping me to validate this system. It's almost finished, okay, but next step will be asking those students to really practice on this, and I will do a quasi-experimental design with a control group and experimental group to see whether the experimental group will really have more advancement while the control group has just not so good at development, etc. Okay? Now this is one thing I hope to help with the professional training of artists. Oh, sorry. Another thing is iPad. It's for school music education, okay? Nowadays in Hong Kong, we encourage teachers to really sing and do accompaniment in Cantonese opera with students in the classroom, okay? But one thing is a problem. The problem is, first of all, not all students can play an instrument. Second, even then they can play, the temperament may not be correct. Because in Cantonese opera, we are not using the equal temperament. We are using our traditional Chinese temperament, which is different, okay? So we are facing this situation. So I would like to develop an iPad apps application to help with. This apps is for accompaniment of Cantonese opera singing, okay? So the purpose to use technology to keep traditional cultures alive in a modern society, which is a good, to let the students think that this is not so outdated, this is not so, okay, old-fashioned, okay, to provide software for teaching and performance in schools and community. So this software can also be used in the community and to solve the problems, including learning an instrument, lack of an instrument, or lack of the skills. And also to promote learning of gongche notation. Now, gongche notation is our traditional notation for Cantonese opera. And I've learned that actually in traditional music of Thailand, they are using similar ways. We use Chinese words to represent notes in the notation, okay? So I will show you, huh? So, and this, when you use this iPad apps, is more easy and easy to learn. And we just got a patent from Hong Kong government in December. Now, on the right-hand side, you can see this is the gongche notation of Cantonese opera. Okay, if you know Chinese words, then of course you know the lyrics with those. Oh, sorry. With those Chinese words like 何時二生車公翻了烏. Okay, just more or less similar to so la ti do re mi fa so la. Okay, but we use that Chinese characters and we put this notation besides the lyrics to indicate which word sing in which tone. And of course there are also rhythm, okay? If you see those cross, can you see this cross? And this dot? The cross is the first beat. And those other dot is the second, third, fourth beats. So you can count 1, and then if you see, hey, yes, there is a cross, the cross here, there are 2 Chinese words here. That means 1 beat you sing 2 notes. If you have 4 beats, 4 notes, then 1 beat sing 4 notes. But whether it is equal is determined by the singer. It's free. Now this is the flexibility for gongche notation. okay? So, and one of our responsibility is to teach the students to learn about gongche notation. This is our traditional treasure, our intangible cultural heritage, right? So we should let our students to learn about this. Now this is the first page of my app, okay? When you open this, you will see there are many instruments. You can select those instruments. So please imagine there are around 10 students who, each of the students will have one iPad and they select different instruments and they play together, just like a real ensemble to perform. This is the keyboard, okay? So you just press on the keyboards and you have the sounds. And also, we can upload the notation, gongche notation, for the students' observation to play, okay? So they can read the notation and play, okay? Now I'll show you a real performance with those iPads. We better stop here. Okay. How do you think? Quite interesting, right? At least they can really, they don't need practice too much. And you just press on the notes and they can perform the accompaniment. Okay? So, of course, technology on one side, it can help a lot. Okay? Now, another research is about teaching Cantonese opera in schools, which I focus very much, okay? Now, quite around 10 years ago, I employed a partnership approach because all those music teachers told me that they don't know Cantonese opera, they couldn't sing and know nothing about this. How can they teach, right? So I use a method. A music teacher collaborate with an artist teaching in the same classroom. That means I invite some professional artists. They may be actors or musicians or teachers to help teaching with the music teachers, okay? So I call it collaborative partnership approach. There's some findings of this study. Primary students possess higher learning motivation than junior and secondary students. It was done by some statistical analysis, so it's quite generalizable, okay? So primary students are better. They are more motivated. Okay. Second, private students had a significant improvement in learning motivation after learning for 3 months. Even just 3 months, they have increased their motivation. Attribution, the reason. Now, age difference, self-consciousness, and social cultural impact. That means why are the secondary students are not so good than primary students? Normally, in the secondary school students, they are almost 12 to 15 years old. They're in this period which is not very stable in terms of psychology. And they value much about self-consciousness, okay? They just regard their self-image is very important, okay? If I tell somebody that I like Cantonese opera, then the other peers will say, you are weird, you are strange, you are crazy, etc. Now, this is the reason, okay? But imagine if we start to teach in the early stage, like primary 1, then after 6 years going to secondary school, it should be better. Of course, we need to do some more research on that, and you can do it if you like, okay? Help to sustain that kind of research, okay? But the partnership is found effective role supplementation between teacher and artist. This can be done. The role supplementation means sometimes the teacher, the music teacher, can learn from the artist, okay? And the artist can provide the knowledge and skills, and the teachers can learn simultaneously, okay? And sometimes the artist can also learn how to teach. So this is beneficial for both, okay? Now, teachers' transformation is my another study with this project, because I would like to know whether teachers would change their mindset after this project, okay? You know, the music teachers are just stubborn enough. They refuse to change, okay? They just keep in their comfort zone, and they have been teaching for 10 years, and they just want to keep it repeating and repeating, okay? So if we want them to teach the new thing, it's quite difficult, okay? So after this, and actually I did this project in 2008, and after 3 years, in 2011, I interviewed them again, okay? And to see whether they have changed their mind, okay? Now, 2 rounds of interview with 5 primary and 2 secondary music teachers. All teachers had classical music background with no understanding in Cantonese opera. And one of the teachers admitted that she had reinterpreted their old experience on classical music and Cantonese operatic music. They have a new, just one of them, okay, had a new perspective, new understanding and feeling about this traditional Chinese music. And based on the transformative learning theory, now this is a very good theory. Transformative learning theory. That means through learning, we may change other things. Through learning some specific thing, like if you learn some music, you may change your other parts of your mindset, like cultural identity, okay, etc. Why the teacher had made such different or such change, okay? The first reason, according to the theory, is that teachers need to transform because of a disorienting dilemma. What is disorienting dilemma? Now, this is a very difficult situation. That means difficult situation. Now, my zero had did this transformative learning theory based on a phenomenon in America in 1950s, 60s, okay, quite a few years ago. At that time, there were many divorced women in America. And after their divorce, many of them became more educated because they have to change. Because originally they have to rely on their husbands, but after divorcement, they have to learn something. They take some different courses or even a degree so that they can earn their living. But imagine if you don't have that difficult situation, like the divorcement, they won't change, right? So this is the so-called disorienting dilemma. So I try to apply this into our practice, saying that if the government push the teachers, they have to do it, they have to teach that, then they will do it. Otherwise, they won't just keep it in their comfort zone. okay? They had to do it because of the government's expectation. Enhancement of self-confidence due to frequent encounter and teaching. Of course, frequent encountering of the genre will increase your confidence and your knowledge, right? So please keep on encountering with the music. And partnership leading to in-depth understanding, the partnership between the artist and the teachers. And also learning as transformation. Teachers continue to grow in professionalism. When we teach as teachers, when we teach continuously, of course we will reflect, we'll think of our teaching, and we are improving, okay? Now these are the reasons. I have some reflection. Now, teaching Cantonese opera in a school-based curriculum is challenging in Hong Kong. It's still very challenging. My university focusing on teacher training, okay, but I'm the only academic in promoting and teaching Cantonese opera. All of my other colleagues are doing Western music, okay, and maybe I'm going to retire in a few years' time. I'm old enough, okay, so I don't know how to sustain. So I hope that, actually I'm training some doctoral students, to be honest, yeah, and some of them, maybe one is coming to my university as a postdoc fellow. I hope she can continue someday. So teachers here, please continue to nurture your doctoral students, which is very important, to sustain your, just like the artist, sustain the artist, and we sustain our knowledge and research. Students need to learn the genre from lower grades. Junior primary for higher motivation, as I said before. We should start with a lower level, okay? Teachers are not well prepared in learning and teaching the genre. This is still the situation, but it's improving slowly, very slowly, okay? I've been done something like the apps, you know, all the software, technology. I hope I can contribute a little. And workshops and learning materials are provided by the Education Bureau. The Education Bureau is doing something. Again, it's not really enough, okay? So research, teaching, we still have to go on. The third is the conception of creativity as personal style in Cantonese opera. Now this is another big research. I can't report the whole thing. Actually, based on this topic, I've done 3 studies, both qualitative and quantitative, okay? I don't have too much time to talk about this, but I just highlight the issue or the purposes, okay? It's also my personal observation about Cantonese opera. It is related to the professionalism of those professional artists, okay? Now, the issue is lack of personal style and creativity is demonstrated. You can see that, okay, nowadays. Imitation of old style or outdated by younger generation. What does it mean? Now, can I show you something? Since 1930s, as I said, it was our golden age of Cantonese opera. There were so many big names. These are the great artists from 1930s until 1970s, okay? Let me see. Only one is still here. The others are all gone, passed away, okay? Only this lady, this lady, her name is Fang Yimfen. Her age is 93, I think. I met her once, okay? She's still very healthy, but she never appeared in the public, okay? Now, these are the names of, they all have their own personal styles, okay? So everybody knows that. But nowadays, what is the personal style? The main thing is qiang. Qiang is the singing, okay? Singing. So elements contributing to the proposition of qiang. Now, they have their own melodic development, especially the creation of melody in the aria type music, okay? They have their specific articulation, phrasing, expression, diction, and characteristics of vocal timbre, okay? Now, if you want to develop in Cantonese opera, you have to consider all these small elements to generate a personal style. Now, this is very important for Cantonese opera, okay? And I'm not sure whether Western music, in vocal music, they will think about this personal style issue. Now, I'm not an expert in Western opera or singing. I'm not a vocal singer, okay? But I just have a very superficial thinking is that it seems to me every tenor or every soprano are quite similar. Okay, I'm not sure whether it's true, okay? But to me, a different soprano sound is quite similar. But I can assure that for Cantonese opera, every male or different male singer and different female singers, they have very different sounds. Now, this is our pursuance. This is our direction, okay? And in the transmission with apprentice, you can see, now for example, this, you can see the apprentice is learning with the master, practicing together, observing him, not teaching, but just observing, okay? These are the teacher and students. Now, since 1980s, there were a phenomenon, okay? On the right-hand side, you can see this is one of our big names. On the top right corner, she is Yam Kim Fai, one of our biggest artists, very famous, passed away a long time ago. And there are at least 3 imitating her with a similar makeup, costume, and singing. It's just copying, you know, just copying 100%, okay? And I do not value this. I don't appreciate that. Because no matter how you can copy, you cannot copy really 100%. And we have so many videos. Why don't we just see the video by Yam Kim Fai, but by those, okay? Now, conception of creators' personal style. Interview 13 experienced practitioners. I did interview 13 very experienced interviewees, including performers, accompanies, singings. Major research question: how do conceptions of creativity in Cantonese opera have been evolving from the perspectives of practicing artists and learners? Minor research question: what are the factors affecting the development of personal styles in Cantonese opera? How can an artist develop a personal style, etc.? Okay? Reasons hindering artist development. I'm not sure whether in Thai traditional music you are sharing the same reasons or whether you have the same question or problem. Okay? Now, rise of concert ethique is very interesting. We are westernized already. So when the performance starts in a Cantonese opera setting, those artists, when they step, and all the audience are clapping. Okay? Of course, it's normal, right? It's quite normal in terms of Western performance. But I can tell you, in traditional Cantonese opera, it's normal. It's not the practice. Only when the performer can sing well, play well, the audience will clap. Otherwise, if the performer cannot play well or even really weak, they will, oh. Okay? Now, this is a traditional practice. Now, according to the old artists, they told me, this is good because this is a kind of evaluation of your performance. And when all the audience is giving you their feedback so that you will know which part you are doing not well, and you will go back to learn and practice more. Okay? This is the old practice. But nowadays, all the audience, they are very friendly. Okay? No matter good or bad, just clap. Okay? This makes those younger artists proud of themselves. They need not practice more, and they can earn a living, you know. Current artists do not possess sufficient knowledge and experience. This is by the experienced artists saying that. The current and younger people, they are not good enough. They are not experienced. Young artists are waiting for their seniors to retire. They are satisfied with the artists too easily. They just wait for those seniors, they retire and pass away, then they become the master. There are many other temptations in the modern world. Temptation, like your mobile phone. Okay, all the artists are not really practicing, but just playing with the mobile phone. Lack of repeated performances. Experienced artists are unwilling to teach. This is another big issue. Those experienced artists, they are competitive with the younger artists. They do not want to teach. And in the old days, they just share with their experience with the younger artists. This is a good old practice. So this is the changing of the society from the old days to the nowadays. You can see, in the old days, slow pace, simple life, okay? But now, rapid pace of lifestyle. We have to earn much money, and do many things, as many as you can, okay? In the old days, lack of entertainment. Now, any entertainment, okay? No technology, but high technology now, localization, we are globalization now, long-term relationship or commitment. And now, is most importantly, utilitarianism. We just do it because we want to earn money, not for artistry. Now, this is the view. And change due to social, cultural context, we have been facing a very big changes. Repeated performance previously of the same play for perfection. In the old days, I can still remember my mom told me in the 1950s, not yet born, I'm not yet born, but my mom told me the famous troops, they performed this one play for whole month, every night, whole month, repeatedly, so they can really develop and practice on the stage. But now, one new play, maybe just once or twice, and then they will look for another new place, okay? So audience expect frequent, new, or different plays. Now, so the whole situation is also related to the audience. The audience expectation is important. Most of the artists would like to follow the audience expectation, which is, they have to ensure that they will buy the tickets. But is it a good way? Now, this is a big issue, a big problem for us, especially for researchers. Okay? We need to, in my view, audience education is important. That means we really want to teach those audience to raise their standard, to let them know more about the Cantonese opera, the artistry, the knowledge and skills, and to appreciate. And if they really can sustain and to watch the repeated performance, that would be really great. Okay? Now, rigorous expectation from audience in the past, but nowadays, courteous, as I said, westernized audience behavior or expectation. Learning from live performances, learning from technology. Now, this is another big problem related to the personality or the creativity. In the previous, many years ago, we didn't have, of course, no iPhone, no computer. Even the sound recording is difficult, A sound cassette recording is really difficult. Not everybody can have a cassette recorder, right? In the 1950s, we just got that disc, the black plastic disc, right? And not every family can have that recorder. Okay, so all the learners need to, how they learn? They have to learn to go to the real performance, to observe, to listen, and they value and to memorize all those things. But nowadays, you just turn on the YouTube, you can see those famous recordings, then they just imitate those recordings. Now, when they imitate those recordings, the recordings are fixed. They won't change, right? So when they learn from the recording, they will learn the same thing without flexibility. But in the previous time, those masters perform the same play every night. But when they perform every night, it's slightly different. It won't be 100% the same. Okay, so the learner can learn a lot. They can learn how to be flexible. They cannot learn sometimes when some accidents appear. They can learn and how to deal with that accidents. For example, the artist may forget the lyrics, forget the singing part. How can they deal with it? They have to improvise, So at that old days, it's a good way. On this stage is the best place for learning, for transmission, okay? But not in the classroom, okay? So long-term practice with patience, this is the good old days. And now, expectation of rapid development. Just like a police academy, in Hong Kong, okay? If you want to be a policeman, and if you just got a secondary graduation, so you will enter the police school to take 9 weeks training. Then you can become a lowest level policeman. But if you got a degree from the university, you can enter the school for 9 months training. Then you become an inspector. It's a really good pay, and because you have a degree. Okay? And the same thing happening in Hong Kong APA. After the 4 years, they got a degree. Then those graduates regard themselves as big masters. They will just play the important role, the most important roles. They never do the secondary or third roles, never. Because they have the degree, And this degree sounds like a very good qualification to support their position. But personally, I don't think this is a good one, because previous or traditionally, in the ecosystem of Cantonese opera, no matter how, when you are an apprentice, you learn from your master, you perform with the master on the same stage, and when you really perform well at a very minor role, then maybe some audience like you, or there is a boss somewhere, he value your performance. Hey, this guy is good. Then I will invite him to play in my troupe, and you will be the second role. Okay? So it's a promotion system. Okay? From the minor role, maybe third, and then second, and then first. Okay? Now this is the traditional practice of Cantonese opera, which is very systematic. But now, all these graduates from the APA, they can just do the most important role. This is another problem. For developing artistic development, according to many experienced performers, he told me, first, inheritance, learning through imitation without reservation. That means this is the first step. No matter the master, what he wants you to do, you just do it, okay? Don't ask, okay? One of the old artists told me when he was young, 16 years, he asked his master, why should I practice this so long? Okay? He asked the teacher, they have a movement like something like that. For 15 minutes, standing there still. And in real performance, this movement may just appear for 2 seconds. When you press 2 seconds, then you will step another. And this apprentice asked, why? Why do we need to practice for 15 minutes? And then, the master would think that you are challenging me. And the master never tell him why. Okay? And further, when they practice, the master put a glass of water here for 15 minutes. It's interesting, okay? But this master he understood later, because if you just practice for 3 seconds, you will shaking, right? You can't shake when you're on stage. It's not beautiful. So you have to practice 50 minutes. Very still, then when your 2 seconds will be fine. But the master never tell you, okay? So inheritance, learning through imitation without reservation, no question, no why, okay? Second, when you can develop reflection on strengths and weakness, make necessary changes and modifications, okay? Because everyone is different. You may not learn all the strength from the master. You cannot copy 100% from your master. You will find you have some strengths and you have some weaknesses, which is different from your master. Then, I pressed wrongly. Sharing. I need someone to help me to get back to, it's German.
It's German?
Yes, it's yeah, sorry. So where is our good old friend?
There you go.
Oh, okay. Is it sharing?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Okay, let's go back to this. I think so. Yes, okay. Almost finished. Almost finished.
I think it's
Yeah. Yeah, okay, thank you. So the third stage is creation, creativity, confirmation of self-modifications with recognition from the audience and peers. Personal style is then established. You have got the audience and the peers' recognition of your personal style, which is really good. It's not your own saying that you got your personal style. And not every artist can get on this stage 3. If you can get on the stage 2, it's already very good. So only very talented people may get to this third stage. So my concluding thoughts I would like to share with you. Culture is evolving, facing globalization. Our culture, no matter where, okay, we are changing continuously. We won't stop because the world is changing, okay, in terms of economy, political issues, international relationship, or internal affairs within a country. So we have to accept that culture will be changing. So traditional art forms are hard to survive in a modern time due to the social cultural changes. We are sharing a very difficult situation. And preservation may not be secured for traditional culture and traditional arts. Now we cannot only preserve the traditional arts. We cannot only do it. Of course, we should do it. We try our best to preserve it. We keep the good practices. Okay, but as I said before, the apprenticeship in Hong Kong cannot be sustained anymore because the whole situation has changed. Okay, no parents will send their children to be the apprentice. So we have to think about how to change, how to develop new ideas. For example, I have another journal article suggesting or proposing a new model for a 4-year program in a university with different ideas. For example, a very close connection with the professional field, a modern internship program so that the students can follow one of their teachers just like a master and apprenticeship relationship. And all the teachers of this university should also be professional artists and performer. They should also perform on stage during their leisure time so that they can bring the students to the platform, to the stage, etc. Okay? We have to accept evolution as the norm of cultural development. Evolution, changing very slowly. And all traditional art forms globally may share these issues. So I'm quite sure that in Asia, in Thailand, we are sharing very similar situations, but I'm happy to hear that Thailand, in our music curriculum in Thailand, traditional Thai music share an equal share with Western music, which is very healthy, I would say. When we talk about our own traditional music, this is our mother tongue. So just like our own mother tongue language, we have to learn it. We have to transmit it to our next generation, okay? We keep our cultural identity. On the other hand, we need to know the world. We have to learn English because English is the most common international language, right? Just like in music, the classical music is something like English. It's an international musical language. So if we are also familiar with Western music, then we can communicate with all the people in the world, right? But still, we have to keep our cultural identity through our cultural music so that we can exchange with other people. And we got our position, our cultural confidence, our cultural position. I really hope that, like Cantonese opera, Thai traditional music can also be performed and transmitted in the international platform. I have some questions for you, if you would like to consider. How can arts education contribute to cultural sustainability? So now this is not only my question, I can tell you that UNESCO in this year, and actually in recent years, they are also asking these questions. And they hope that our practitioners, arts educators, would reply to these few questions. How can arts education contribute to cultural sustainability? What is the definition of cultural sustainability? And should we proactively sustain the culture? Of course, I have some view, as I said before, sustaining is good, okay, but it will evolve, it will change. So how to sustain is another story, and to what extent that we accept the change is another issue. Additionally, may I inform you that the UNESCO is very soon going to have a questionnaire survey to all the arts educators in the world, okay? This questionnaire has just been finalized 2 days ago, and I will send to our colleagues here, and I hope you can also spread to your friends who are arts educators, arts, music, visual arts, dance, drama, etc. And the UNESCO would like to know more about the current situation of arts education in the world. And the report will be disseminated in this May, in Paris. There will be a big dialogue, they call it dialogue. Many arts educators will gather in Paris this May to discuss the result and to propose some ideas for future development, okay? So I would like to stop here and thank you for your listening. I would like to see any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so very, very much, Professor Bowalong. This is very, personally to me, it's touching. It's very touching for sometimes we talk about classical music and study a lot and take a lot of examination to go to be international, but actually to keep our cultural heritage is very as important as going abroad. Okay, so let's go for the question and answer session. Right now, do you have any question, or otherwise, how about answer the 3 questions that Professor Bo had asked us? If you don't have question right now, let's answer him. The first question I remember is that how would art education or art educator would contribute to the cultural sustainability? This is very interesting, and I would not think that it's only the professor in the university who are the person who answer this question. I think it belongs to all of us. I think it belongs to everyone in the community. And to save your own heritage, not only Thai, but from your own country, right? Are you from Hong Kong with Professor Bo also? The students, graduate students from Mahidol University, where are you from? China. From China. Wow, what a great heritage country, the big guest of all in this time. I'm so honored to have you all here from China, Chinese students, PhD students, graduate students, not only graduate students, but also the undergrad student. When you are going to teach in school as the practicum, have you thought about doing something for the nation instead of doing something for your grade? Right? When you teach in the class, have you think about your own identity? Right? So that's a big question that may be too pushy for me to get the answer from them. But I think before going to the open floor as the question, our IT person would look at the question from the audience. From Malaysia. Let me see if we have one. Yes, all right. If the screen is not sharing, but I can read it from you. It's hi from Professor Ramona Tahir from Malaysia. And I would like to read it for you, okay? Hi, Professor Bowa. Thanks for this comprehensive presentation on your work in preserving, cultivating, and promoting Chinese tradition music, especially Cantonese opera in Hong Kong. Many of the issues you present are what we are experiencing here in Malaysia too. My question is, have you done any studies to investigate the musical identities of Hong Kong youth, or if you know of others who have done so. I am curious to see if Hong Kong's unique situation between the West and China has impacted the way Hong Kong youth perception towards what is that music.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramona. Hi. Nice to see you on screen. Anyway, now thanks for this question. Actually, I've done recently another new research project, but a bit unfortunate that the result was not very satisfactory, I would say. Now, just because, first of all, I did a project on comparing Hong Kong students and Guangdong students, because Cantonese opera is popular in Guangdong province, okay, to see whether they have developed their national identity through learning Cantonese opera. This project has two parts. The first part is a kind of investigation to what extent they are teaching Cantonese opera. So a rough, and it has been published in the journal article, Psychology of Music, okay? So if you want to see the result, you can go to Psychology of Music. You can find my paper with Victor Fong, okay? This project, the findings is simple, I can tell you. The most important thing is that Hong Kong's teachers almost using around 10% of their teaching time, and mainland teachers using more, okay? But this is not the most important part. The most important thing is that their musical background is the very significant factors affecting whether they are teaching Cantonese opera. So if they have a Chinese music background, they tend to teach Cantonese opera more than those teachers who have Western music background. Now this is first thing is kind of investigation of the current situation, okay? The second part, actually I did a interview and class observation in schools and also in schools in Hong Kong and Guangdong. During the COVID, this is the reason. During COVID, we could not go to mainland for my observation and interviews. So I had to rely on my partners who are a professor from the South China Normal University. And she asked her graduate students to help with the observation and interviews. But unfortunately, I would say, the students were not really experienced in doing the interviews and observation. Okay, so the data was quite superficial and could not be in-depth. And even worse is that, I can tell you, but this is not very good news. I know perhaps you know about the Hong Kong situation now. Okay, it's a bit political. Okay. And actually, when we talk something about Chinese or China with those younger people, they will be very reserved. Okay, they won't say anything. They will keep their mouths shut. This is the problem. Okay, so when I interview them, when I ask them, well, whether you like Cantonese opera or not, they will say, okay, it's interesting or something, okay? But if I touch upon the issue of whether you will think that you can develop your Chinese identity, then they will say, not sure, or even no answer. Okay, so this is more or less the politics has been influencing our academics, okay? I'm not focusing on the political issues. I try to do my research in terms of arts education, transmission, etc. And I would like to promote that learning traditional Chinese music may further enhance our students' national identity, cultural identity, etc. Okay? But the students are very sensitive nowadays. Even the primary students, they have many, many thoughts about that. It might not be true, okay? I mean, what they think might not be the reality, but there's a kind of perception which is hard to change, okay? So I would say this is not a very successful research, And up to this moment, I cannot write up. Actually, I have a draft of the journal article, and I'm still exploring other ways to report these findings, okay? Maybe I will focus on another thing, not the national identity issue, okay? So, yeah, I hope I can answer this question.
Right. It's very sensitive issue. Thank you so much, Professor Bo. And thank you so much for Professor Ramona Tahir, if she's here with us.
Oh.
We saw her over there with Malaysian professors and graduate students, all about 20 plus person. That's fine. Another question, would you like to go? Yeah, I think we have a few more minutes. Just perhaps one question from Zoom and one more question from the floor. Is there a demand for Cantonese opera performance in Hong Kong? If not, why would the young want to learn Cantonese opera? Can Cantonese opera be adapted to a simpler version for children, for education, cultural, aesthetic, and recreational purpose rather than high arts?
Okay, there are three questions actually. First, is there demand for Cantonese opera performance in Hong Kong? Of course, yes. Recently, I had done a survey of audience of Cantonese opera. Very initial result, and some other literature and official data showing that there are around 300,000 consistent audiences in Hong Kong to attend Cantonese opera performances. 300,000, okay? And this number has not changed. It's, for the past 10 years, it's keeping around 300,000. But the number of performances are increasingly, doubling since the last 10 years. So nowadays, you are having a very difficult situation. Every performance is not full house. So it may be just 50%, 60%, okay? This is an issue. So, of course, there's a demand, but this demand is not a big one, okay? And we are still worrying when the older people gone and whether the young people will join, okay? So, why would the young want to learn Cantonese opera? According to the younger professional artists, they just love the art. They just love to perform. So this is good, okay? They are not caring about money or their prospect in the future. But I worry for them because if our Cantonese opera is developing not so well, then they can be facing a very difficult situation. Yes. And yes, for the final question, the government has developed some simplified versions of Cantonese opera performance for school learning. But these are very limited teaching materials, not enough, I would say. And we need some more teacher training using the materials. It's better than nothing, okay, but still not enough, okay? I've answered all this, right?
Yes, thank you so much. Yes. Do you have any questions?
Any other questions?
Any question? We can go up to the microphone and yes,
come on.
Perhaps. Come close, please.
So she has to speak in Chinese. 声乐，视唱二类人 ，OK， 知道。Okay, 谢谢. Okay, her question is about teaching in schools. Since all the students are familiar with the traditional staff notation, okay, treble clef, bass clef, etc. So if we have to teach those traditional music with the traditional notation, like the gongcha notation, would the students be difficult to learn and the teachers are difficult to teach? Now, of course, it will be a bit more difficult, okay? But I would still encourage you to use the traditional gongcha or traditional notation because this is our authentic method. There must be reasons that our seniors developed that kind of notation. As I mentioned before, the gongcha notation has strong flexibility in terms of notes and rhythm. So if you transmit to Western notation, now in Western notation, there's no flexibility at all, right? You have to follow every note, follow every rhythm, the duration of each note, right? So it has been the Western concept of music. Now, in our Asian concept of music, actually music is, first of all, is a line, okay? We don't value the harmony, okay? And we think that the melody itself is very flexible. It should not be performed every time in the same way, okay? Now, this is our philosophy, at least is our philosophy of Chinese music, okay? So if every time is the same, that's meaningless, okay? So this is the creativity of the performer, not the composer. So that's why in China, we do not value those composers. We value you yourself as the performer of music, okay? Now, so I really encourage you to use the traditional notation because you are transmitting 100% wholeheartedly the traditional music practice. We call it performance practice. 我们的演奏习惯, okay? Use this way, then you are transmitting the Chinese culture, not only music. You understand what I mean? Okay? This is our way of thinking in terms of music. Okay? Now, and one more thing is that traditional Chinese music, we do not sight reading. We do not do sight reading. Now, sight reading is just from the West. Okay? Because the notation is so complicated and systematic. So they can do sight reading. But in China, our music is just simply recorded just for our memory, okay? But when we play the music, we never read the notation or seldom read the notation. We have to memorize the whole thing in your brain. And sometimes you can improvise. That's why improvisation is also important, okay? Just like jazz, right? Jazz music is a kind of folk music, a kind of, so that you can just practice and play by your brain. Actually, it's your musical brain. Okay? Now, please consider this. Of course, I know as the teacher, you have to learn to change the paradigm, right? I learned Cantonese opera singing for 9 years up to this moment. I have a music club in Hong Kong, okay? Every Saturday, I spend 4 hours from 7 to 11. And after that, we go to supper, ye shao. And during that time, we exchange our views, our minds, how we sing. I'm still learning, to be honest. And at my beginning of learning that special music is to me, it's very difficult. I have to throw away my Western music knowledge and skills. I have to forget it, unlearn, actually, okay? I have to learn the new temperament, okay, which sounds out of tune if you're using a Western ear, okay? I have to change the whole singing habit. For example, the Western vocal singing, they put the vibrating point at the back, okay? Something like that, right? But in Cantonese opera, we have to put it in the front. Wow, totally different. OK， 这就突然间我说普通话了，怎么办？This change was so difficult, you know, because it is a habit already. When I sing, I was a Western music learner. I played the clarinet. I sing in the choir. And I'm a bass. I was a bass, and in Cantonese opera, they have to sing always going to G. You know, it's a tenor range. And at the very beginning, I didn't believe that I can sing that high. But they have method. Of course, this method. After several years, those teachers finally told me it's a secret for them, okay? and they observe me as a student, whether I'm sincere enough, I'm not really doing it for money, I would like to teach to others, etc. So one day they think that, okay, it's time for me to tell you the secret. Okay, the high voice is related to our movement of our mouth and cavity. Okay, you have to raise this so that you can sing higher. Okay, but the vibration point is around the nose or something here, and the cavity, 口腔. Okay, and I really can sing up to G or even G sharp. Okay, it's wonderful. So they have the method, but they just don't want to teach you. This is interesting. Anyway, I'm not sure whether I've answered your question. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. But it's very interesting, and it's applicable to many Eastern culture, including Thailand. I'm so sorry, I might need, I cannot take any more questions because we're running out of time, but fortunately that Professor Bo will stay with us for a little bit longer today, but not tomorrow. We're going to have lunch at the canteen over the next building, and that will be like a 1 hour break if you need to ask him, but let him have lunch first, perhaps, okay? I would like to respond to the wonderful presentation and wonderful speeches from Professor Bo with my 3 points of view that would like to share with you as students of music education, okay, not only the undergrad but graduate student for the whole wide world, okay. The first point is that I would like to show you and let you experience and see how long a person as academic teacher works so hard with his heart, with his passion, with his strong will for others, not for himself. And that is very important for all of us to move forward. I think if you do something like a research, a pilot study for yourself, for your own teaching, I think it's a rounded small circle. But if you go for other, it's like open-ended question. You can go and you can find questions, you can find good possibility that you can help others. His passion is very profound, and I can feel, I can touch with this 2 hour lectures. Okay, if you can see the APA citation that he had been doing works from 2008 with the same thing with the Cantonese opera, from the small amounts of participants into the AI, into the application, and into the teacher training program. That's the way environment leads him to go to, not by the researcher himself. That's what I feel. Okay. Second way is perhaps it's time for all Eastern countries to step up and be proud of ourselves, be proud of our own heritage, be proud of our own history. Thailand has longer than 700 years also, but perhaps because younger generation is worried about themselves or personal appearance, and going to go to international world has to be very fast, very digital, because they are in the digital world. Actually, to preserve the authenticity or to be who we are, to know our own roots, where we have been, where we have come from, that is something we have to cherish and pass it through the next generation. Otherwise, I think nobody would need us, and we don't have to go to the college. I think every people right now in the world are ready to pass it on to other, how digital worlds go, how IT, how technique goes. But all of us who gather together, think together, help together, create the variety, create the prosperity in the world. I think we can do it with good leaders such as Professor Bo Wah-leung. So please give a big applause for him. Thank you so much, very much. Last but not least, I would like to ask for a little bit formal presentation as a token of our appreciation from Faculty of Education. We'd like to ask Assistant Professor Dr. Apichat Phronprasert, the Head Department of Art, Music, and Dance Education, to present a gift to Professor Bowalong. Please, on the stage. Go that way, please. The first one is our authentic drum, figure drum that is the leader of the Thai Pipat ensemble. Thank you very much. Ajahn Apichat. Secondly, I would like to ask for Assistant Professor Dr. Vishatalam Lawanit, the Chair of the Division of Music Education, Faculty of Education, Chulalongkorn University. Alrighty. Professor Bo, would you like to say some ending notes or before we leave for lunch? It's our honor, and it's not like he would be able to come visit us every time to Thailand.
I love Thailand, actually. I always come for tourism, with my family. Okay. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to this presentation. I hope I can bring some ideas for you, and please continue to do research about transmission of traditional music. It is related to our own identity, our own thoughts, our own heritage, okay? So I value this so much, and every country, every people should do the same, I think. So I hope to see you someday in the international conferences, okay? So let's also continue to keep in touch, and to maybe we can do some collaborative research together, okay, or share our information, okay? See you in Korea and Helsinki.
And so, for APSMR. Thank you very much, Professor. โอเคตอนนี้ก็จะเป็นอาหารกลางวันนะคะซึ่งวันนี้เป็นวาระที่โชคดีเราทุกคนจะได้รับเชิญนะคะมันเป็นวันที่เรามีอาหารเยอะเพียงพอที่จะเชิญทุกคนไปที่ห้องอาหารนะคะ Please welcome to our lunch. It's provided for all of us here, but we have to walk across the building. She will be help us, Mintra. Raise your hand, please. She will be helping us by the place to go. All right. And the next session for afternoon will be Dalcross workshop upstairs at the 5th floor. Okay, some paper presentations and also the workshop for anxiety and stage performance. All right, and other than that, tomorrow we have a whole schedule and also the concert at the end with Thai authentic performers. Thank you so much. ขอบคุณค่ะ